What's going on, Sky Squad? We are back in the building. Y'all, let's talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville. We're on episode. I always have a hard time figuring out what season we're on, but this says episode 17 of season 6. So that's what we're going to leave it on when I'm looking at the official site. Okay. So it says the Fletchers deal with the fallout from Chris losing his real estate license. Ken and Trisha's relationship is threatened by social media backlash. Destiny and TISHA argue about Destiny's loyalty and rehash the disagreement they had at the winery. Okay, so we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to let y'all know that there is a situation happening with Amy Luciani on Instagram right now. And I saw this last night. We won't touch really on this too much, just to kind of let you guys know that it is popping off. There, like, she, you know what? I can't even really dive into that situation too much because if you just look on social media, that's all I'm gonna say. We won't really get into that here because as y'all know, um, I'm trying to vibrate at a certain place in my life. Okay. Um, but I'm gonna do my due diligence and let y'all know what's out there. But I'm also I can't get down with that. I can't even get down into that. Okay? Cuz it's at a place where I just don't even feel like I'm no longer there. Okay? I'm no longer there. But in the interest of quasi doing my job, I figured I would let y'all know and I will place a link in the description so that you guys can understand the situation further for yourselves. Okay? So we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Okay? um if you check the comments and you guys will understand exactly it's too heavy. In NYC Finest B, it's too heavy. It's and again, these be one of those situations where I'm always torn about like, do I really even want to get into that? But I will let y'all know that something is popping off on that situation. So definitely check it out for yourself. Okay. I will place in the description, I will place Royce's comments. I will place links for all of that information, or you guys can just go and check the neighborhood talk. Okay. Again, it's really, really heavy. Sometimes people will expect me to comment on something, and I just don't have no commentary for that one. But I did want to let you know the situation is out there. It's dire, and we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Um, and I say it because it's kind of unavoidable. So there's that. Um, yeah. All right, so let's get into this episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I kind of didn't know how I would feel about this extended season of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I just feel like I'm not sure why we are in the same season. Now, I'm sure that the network has its rationale for that. But after watching this first episode, I'm intrigued. I'm actually intrigued. There's a lot of twists or developments that I really wasn't expecting. So we can just dive right on in. The first thing that we come into the episode with is we learned that Chris Fletcher, his license is under investigation at this point. Now, the headline at the beginning of the episode reads revoked, but he was saying in the episode that it was under investigation. So let's get to the heart of it. I don't know why the man's license was under investigation. It is not made explicitly clear. And because there's an investigation, I'm assuming he can't say. Okay. He cannot say what it is. But I want to know what happened. I mean, it has to be pretty severe for you to have your license under investigation or for them to actually put the headline revoked. And y'all know sometimes I don't really get into the weeds of particular shows nowadays. I watch it from the perspective of someone who loves the show, but in terms of like all the minutia, I can't really understand it, to be quite honest with you. Later on, when he's sitting down with Martell and what's that man's name? Ken Doll. When he's sitting down with Ken and Martell, he basically makes it seem like he was looking out for somebody and he got set up. And I'm thinking to myself, now, first of all, I don't even know how you end up looking out for somebody in that situation. And I don't understand how you get set up in that situation either. Again, was this person that you were looking out for? Did they set you up? Or did who set you up? Who? Who was it? Was this a family member or was this a friend? Are y'all still friends? Who were you trying to set up? Because if you're telling Martell and you're telling Ken this, so I would have to assume that it can't be one of them. Who were you trying to look out for? And then is that even smart to say? Because if in the one breath you're saying that you can't say because it's under investigation, but the headline at the beginning of the episode reads revoked. You're saying investigation. The headline reads revoked. Maybe it hadn't been revoked at the time of this episode filming, but that headline at the beginning of the episode definitely read revoked. Am I correct? I think I'm correct. So you got that going on, and I'm just trying to figure out the who, what, where, why, and how. Because if you guys don't explicitly explain it to me, now I've got to be left to my own devices to either try to investigate or figure it out myself. Okay. And in what way, shape, or form does someone who has been in this business for as long as he has end up in this type of situation? And everybody makes mistakes, but I would just assume that I don't know. I'm just trying to figure that out. Okay. But there's that. All right. Now, before we get all the way into that, the first scene of this episode is Leticia sitting down with Trish. Now, we learn a lot in this first episode about Trish and Ken. They are no longer living together. Um, there have been allegations of stuff happening on social media with him and with her. You know what it sounds like to me? And I don't really, I don't want to speak negatively on their relationship because to be honest with you, um, I'm trying to figure out how to put your comments on the screen. I can't see it on my end, so I got to figure out this software. Um, I guess what I'm trying to figure out for me, here's the thing, and I kind of have to go back to what a lot of you guys used to say about Ken and Trish. A lot of y'all used to say that they probably just should take some time apart because they ended up getting together technically while she was still married. And the bottom line is, I think what we have seen in this situation from Trish is that I don't really think that she was completely over the situation with Marquez. And I'm going to go ahead and say it like that. She can't have been because it felt like it took her for ages to get that divorce and get that settled. And it seemed like he was so easily able to push her buttons that it gave me the impression that she was still into him or still in some way, shape, or form affected by his presence, his actions. And I get it, the actions do impact they have to interact because of the kids. But it just seemed to me like maybe it was too soon for her to get into something with Ken. and she wasn't truly over the hurt of what happened with her and Marquez. Now that I look back on the situation, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like I think back on everything that we've seen of the two of them, and I'm just kind of like, maybe maybe Trish has some trauma that she needed to get through first, and maybe she should spend some time getting through that trauma before she and Ken try to get something different going. Because Ken sounds like he's ready for a family. He's ready to settle down and let's get married type type situation. And maybe that just really wasn't in the cards for the two of them. I don't know. All I know is listening to her and listening to him right now, it sounds clear to me that the two of them probably need to take some time and just be by themselves. That may be the best bet, because for Trish, it sounds like she just hopped from relationship to being abandoned, okay, into something with Ken when she had not fully wrapped up the situation with Marquez. And unfortunately, Trish has been through so much hurt and so much loss that I just don't know that she was truly really ready for what it really meant to be in another serious relationship with somebody who was ready to commit. And to be honest with you, Ken, like, you also have a part to play in this, because if you were doing all of the things that a husband would do, okay, and without having the title, without having y'all sitting down and like really negotiating what this will look like, you kind of went into that situation in reverse. You were taking the actions of someone who wanted to be a husband, but you weren't necessarily, I don't think, all the way in the space of a husband. You were kind of filling that role and filling the gap, but I don't really think that she was really ready for all of that. Now, regardless of whether or not you paid every single bill, you got to take some ownership of that too. Whether, I mean, because if you did it, you volunteered to do it, or she asked you and you did it. I don't know what the case was behind the scenes. All I know is both of y'all got to own your part in the situation. Okay, you got to own it. And I don't think either one of them are bad people. I just think that they probably rushed into something. They needed somebody. They both probably needed something from each other and they got it. But that doesn't mean that they're meant to be together forever. And maybe they will come back around and be with each other. Who knows? But for right now, I feel like y'all just sound like y'all in two different spaces. He done moved out or got an apartment or living on Will's sofa. I don't know what he doing. Based on the episode, I can't really recall the exact details of what he's doing at this point. All I know is there's a lot of mud in the water with the two of them right now, based on what Leticia's saying, that people are saying about him, and or her, or whatever's going on. Tisha got the tea from somebody else, and she's letting Trisha know that I got some tea about y'all's DMs and interactions on social media and stuff like that. Um, you know what's funny about the? I'm gonna comment. King said something about issuing us restraining order rights against some of the IG celebrities. Um, I'm shocked that that Instagram hasn't taken that video down. In the video, this is why I really don't want to get into it too much, but I'm just gonna give you this. In the video, she is showing stuff. How is the video still out there? I don't know if it's still on her page or not. I haven't checked her page since last night, but when you see it, if you see the video, you and I had never. I don't know what she had in her, her hand, to be honest with you, but I ain't never seen it like that. Okay, I ain't never seen that. I know what I seen on the television screen, But I ain't never seen that which she had in her hand. Okay, so she, the video is a lot. All right, it's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, I just saw King's comment. I'm like, I'm shocked that they have not taken that down. And if not, they need to. Hold on, let me see. I don't see it. I don't see it on her page. So I guess she took it down. Um okay, so the next conversation that we see happen is a conversation with Miss Nell and Chris Fletcher. And this is about him basically his loss of income as a result of having his license revoked under investigation or whatever the case may be. It almost sounds like she's asking whether it is or not in the beginning, but as they sit down and have a further conversation, we learn that they have, I think, Miss Nell's dad in the house, right? So she needs nursing care for him. Also, too, the two new additions, two new grandchildren, I guess, are spending a lot of time at her place. So she's got to deal with that, run the daycare center. They need a new program manager at the daycare center. And now she's got to deal with this. Okay. The woman is overwhelmed. The woman sounds more overwhelmed than Dr. Simone. So she is literally crying out for help. Maybe that's why she's been on edge much of much of this past season. I mean, my God, today the season has been a year long at this point. No, has it not? The season has been a year long. Okay? When you really think about it, it's been a year-long season. So, maybe that's why she's on edge. The woman needs some help. So now she's got to deal with this whole Chris Fletcher situation, and they go into their sources of income, which I also found very interesting. I enjoyed this episode. I was intrigued by the little things. What I learned in this situation was that they have her business, which she has had since she was 19, which is the daycare center. Now, which is fascinating because I think back on Portia's mama and Shamia's mama also having daycare centers, and I gotta wonder, daycare centers must be profitable businesses. The next thing I'm thinking is, oh, they also have a cleaning business, which I did not know. And I was thinking, listen, I'll be thinking about all the extra ways I could be making money myself. So when I be watching these shows, I'd be like, oh yes, oh, so I could add that to the thing too. Okay, we could do this, that, and the third. Like I'd be wanting to know what the people be doing. Okay, so they got the cleaning service together. Okay, that's the two of them. But the daycare center is Miss Nails. So the brokerage is Chris Fletcher's. That's how they run it. Okay. Now, without that massive chunk of the real estate income, they got to now rely on the daycare center and the cleaning service. Now, I don't know how that's managed or who's running that, what the day to day is like on that. What I do know is now they've got to depend on Miss Nell's what she's bringing in from the daycare center and the cleaning service. So she's worried because now she got to deal with all these other things too. So she snapped real easy. So when he suggests to her that she bring on a partner for the daycare center, for whatever reason, this sends Miss Nell into a tizzy. Miss Nell goes off. And she's like, I don't know who it was as though she took it like you're trying to tell me I don't know how to run my business. And she was like, I've been doing this since I was 19. I've been doing this for longer than you've been doing what you've been doing. So I know what I'm doing. Don't be trying to tell me that I need to bring somebody else in on my business. Like I can't run my business myself. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if that was what he was suggesting, but Whatever the case may be, she didn't like his tone. She didn't like his disposition. She didn't like his mannerisms. She didn't like when he blinked when he said it. She didn't like when he scratched his ear. She didn't like his hair was curly in that moment. She didn't like the way he was sitting. She didn't like the way his legs was gapped. She didn't like the way his arms was sitting on that chair. She didn't like the way he looked. She didn't like the way he sounded. She didn't like the way he smelled. She didn't like nothing. Okay. She was over it. And I was like, I was like, "Ooh," and she went slam off on him, and I could not for the life of me figure out what had triggered her so, but then when I really thought back on it, I said, "She got Simone syndrome. The woman is tired." Okay, the woman is tired. The woman is tired. Somebody let her get some rest. The woman can't take a nap. The woman ain't got no time for herself. She is literally from end to end, she is done. Okay. So I was like, you might want to slow down because I don't even know what you said. I had to rewind it like a couple of times because I was like, did I miss something? Did they edit something out? All I know is 1 minute she was on the verge and the next minute she was off the cliff. And he was steady trying to give her some rope to bring her back on and she was gone. And he tried to clean it up a little bit, but and he was like, "Well, how can I be of more help to you?" And she was like, "Find me a program manager, a nurse, and pretty much get back to work." That was pretty much what I got from it. So they going through, obviously. So the next people that we see are Kimmy and Maurice. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't really too much care for this scene because I don't really understand Maurice. Maurice, for him to be, I guess your occupation ain't really got nothing to do with how you think. Okay. In my mind, I'm like, well, you're an attorney. So attorneys, I would always think to myself, are thought forward thinking. They've got to be able to think and speak in a way that is clear, direct, and understandable. But I would also wonder now if maybe some people may use that to play with their words. And I cannot ascertain if I'm supposed to take him seriously in what he's saying to her. She is upset because of the things that he says to her and this idea that he wants her to be happy even if he's not with her. So he doesn't quite understand why she's taking that so severely. And I'm thinking to myself, either you are being willfully obtuse about this, or you're playing with us and her for the sake of making good TV. I cannot understand which one of those it is. I would have to hope that you are saying and doing the things that you're doing to make good TV. Because if you're saying this and you're just obtuse in that way and not willfully so, then it, at that point it's giving caveman. Okay. And when I say caveman, I do mean Glenn level caveman. And I hate to say that, y'all. I really do. I don't want to, I'm not trying to reduce these men to just primitive thinking primates, but that's what they give sometimes, and I don't really understand it because it's not like we live in the Stone Ages. Like the woman is not Wilma Flintstone or Betty Rubble. At the end of the day, this is what 2025. You would think at this point in time, like if y'all gonna deal with some issues, let's deal with something serious. Like, and if you really don't mean to say that you want her to be happy, even if she's not with you, who would say that unless somebody was absolutely done? Like that's what it gives. So then to kind of walk it back and say, "Oh my God, I won't say things that that I probably shouldn't say." It just gives ridiculousness to me, and I don't really get it. And I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to give him some grace. And I'm going to give you guys an example of what I mean. Okay? I can't understand his logic because I'm like, you repeatedly say things that are just totally just downright foolish to say on a television show, on an interview, or whatever for a man of who does the type of work that you do. But again, we can't equate job titles and jobs to the amount of sense people have, and I do understand that. I totally get it. But uh, it just, and I have a problem intellectualizing some of these things that happen. But by golly, I just feel like you keep doing the same things, and I never understand it. Let me give you an example of something I do understand. I do understand that when Martell tells Ken, man, you probably just need to go find you a little 20-year-old, you know. You know why I get it? Because I recognize that that is a pattern of thought for him. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I guess I just need to come to the conclusion that Maurice, either you, but my problem is Maurice sometimes feels like he's playing with us for the sake of being funny. And I can't fathom why you would do that at the expense of your wife, but maybe he feels like he sees Marceau do those same things at the expense of his wife, like the joke will be on her. But Marceau has a different level of how he does things. And I don't always agree with that either. But I definitely don't agree with the way that Maurice does it because it doesn't seem to fit what I had assumed about his personality. And maybe that's my fault. When I hear Martell say, man, yeah, you need to go find you a 20-year-old. I'm for some reason expecting him to say that. So I'm not disappointed. Did I think it sounds crazy? Yes, I do. Okay? Because the logic behind it is what's crazy to me. So Chris Fletcher, Martell, and Ken are sitting around a car wash right across the street from Nell's daycare center. And they're catching up on, Chris and who he tried to help and how that turned out and how they set him up a whoop-de-woo allegedly. And then it gets into Ken and his situation, and he's, on the outs with Trish and they not working out and whoop-de-woo. And, that's when Martell gives him the also thoughtful advice that maybe you're dealing with the wrong age group, man. You need to find you somebody young. And so even Chris Fletcher's looking like your Chris Fletcher points out the thought process, and even Ken point in their confessionals, they point out that Martell's thought process is not really about finding someone compatible with Ken or finding somebody who is, just mentally available for him. It is really more about control. Find you somebody that you can control, man. Get yourself one of these young girls so you can control them. So Ken says, well, not that his response is any better. He's like, well, yeah, but they don't know how to act. So, huh, maybe maybe you too can have a little bit of those control thoughts. Maybe. Because the words don't know how to act implies to me that they out of control. Them young girls out of control. They don't know how to act. They out here running around. They don't know how to act. You can't get a hold of them. I can't put a lasso on them and round them up when I need to. Now, I'm not saying that a person who is in their 40s or 50s, people date who you want to date. I'm not here to judge on that. But when there is some logic behind it that you are projecting to us, now we can comment on it. Okay. Now I can comment on that because that sounds crazy. It sounds cockamamie, and y'all both sound just a little bit ignorant. Okay. The conversation was just so telling to me because I was like, I don't know that y'all hear yourselves. Does anybody hear themselves in this conversation? Will anybody look back on this conversation and think to themselves, "Oh, you know what? I probably shouldn't have said that out loud." Or maybe I should change my thinking about how I'm looking at, these age gap relationships. I mean, if you're looking for somebody that you can control, then should we assume that you're in relationships now based on the level of control that you think that you have over the person? In which case, now we have a completely different view of Ken and Trisha, as well as perhaps Martell and the young lady that he is with currently. But all I can go on is what y'all saying in the episode. And if that works for your situations, then by God, who am I to come in here and judge? I'm just giving commentary on what y'all said in the episode. So that's what we got to go on. I can't be left with any other impression. So if y'all like it, I love it. But I would just be want to tell y'all, brothers, be mindful of what you're saying because it, it sounds crazy. Okay? It sounds crazy. Um, so let's move on. NYC Finest B says, wait, did Martell and Ariane break up? He said new relationship. I don't know, to be honest with you. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just honestly, I'm following the story, and because I haven't seen her on the show, I just have to assume that he's speaking about that he's still in the relationship with her. But I don't know. I don't know. Let's move right on along to Destiny is going to be going to visit her birth mother in Detroit. So there will be more to come on that. She does go to the bingo hall, which I have never actually seen the inside of a bingo hall. My grandma used to go to the bingo place. So that was interesting to me. I always expected the bingo hall to be a dark place. For some reason, I imagined the bingo hall to be dark and like kind of in a restaurant or something like that. And you know how restaurants are just like tend to be a little darker. I don't know why. This is just, and it probably makes not a hill of beans of a difference whether or not the place is dark or light. It just didn't meet my expectations of what the bingo hall was going to look like. Do y'all play bingo? I mean, because I know people really love it. I just never played it. But, apparently the people have a good time. So, unless I'm missing something, and I might be, Destiny meets up with Kimmy. No, before that happens, Kimmy and Leticia are out at the taco place because it's Taco Tuesday, maybe. And Kimmy wants tacos. So the girls gets dressed up and they go sit down. And we find out that, they got the projects are happening with Scott Realty and, with the buildings and stuff like that. And by golly, there's some residential stuff that's going on for Leticia and the brokerage, and she needed some residential real estate agents or real estate realtors. And by golly, she's sure enough not using Kimmy. I was, and Kimmy is looking like. So you just gonna tell me you using another real estate agent? And Letitia's like, yeah, but they're just gonna be showing and stuff like that. I don't have time to be running around. Girl, I understand. Okay. At the end of the day, I personally don't want to be running around showing houses. I want you to come to me because you need a house. Then I want to let somebody else show the houses. Okay. I just want to help you connect you with your dream home. But I really don't want to be in the traffic. Okay. So I get it. I get it, Leticia. I certainly get it. So maybe Leticia thought that, well, girl, I don't want to use you because I want to pay these people what I want to pay them to go show these houses, and that's it. I don't because I know you charge a different fee, and I'm not trying to give you all my money. That's the way I took it, but Right. She wanted a door opener. Somebody said in the comments, was it LaClaudia? I'm looking at the she It's not funny, but I'm assuming that's what I'm talking. This is real talk because as a realtor, you can, or real estate agent, right? You can sort of contract someone to go and show a house for you because you may not have time. You can, there's a way that you can do that. You can book somebody to go and show the house. So maybe that's what she wanted, and she knew that Kimmy's not trying to do all that. I don't really know. I don't really know. All I know is that was what was going on. So we learned that bit of information. I told y'all, if you paid attention to this episode, you will have noticed there was these little small nuggets that I had to keep rewinding because I'm like, did that person say that? Did they say that? Did they really say that? Okay, cool. Um, okay. So Destiny gets there. And there's still some residual lingering feelings, I think, between Destiny and Leticia about their previous interactions. Now, Destiny kind of wants to downplay these interactions, but there is still obviously some tinge of annoyance with Leticia with regards to their previous interactions, because what is at the core of this issue is they went to the winery about a year ago, okay, at this point, because we don't know. I mean, I don't even know where we are in terms of the episodes in real life. I would have to assume that these things happened over a year ago. But whatever the case may be, it was several months ago that we saw it. They went to the winery. They were arguing about Miss Nell and whether or not Destiny was taking sides. There was some annoyance on the way there. There was some annoyance as they sat at the winery. There was a lot of chaos going on between the two of them over Miss Nell, mind you. And that still lingers to this day. So, Destiny needs to order some shots because she kind of needs to be, she tells the server, she was like, because, it's a lot of little energy going on over here. And Leticia obviously still feels a certain type of way because she feels like she wants Destiny to either, she tells her, well, either you stay in the middle or you take a side. And I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense to me, but I guess maybe it does to Leticia. So whatever. Destiny's like, listen, girl, I've already had this conversation with you. I actually acknowledged your feelings about it. So I don't even understand why we are regurgitating this issue. And Letitia's very much like, well, because I'm telling you how I feel. And Destiny's like, well, we already talked about how you felt. And Letitia's like, but I'm telling you how I feel. And Destiny's like, we already talked about that. Letitia's like, I'm telling you how I feel. Oh, you telling me how you feel today. Okay. But why do you feel like that today? And we talked about it 2 weeks ago. You still feel like that? Because, girl, if you still feel like that, there's only so much that I can't do nothing for you. Basically, that's where Destiny is. I can't do nothing for you, man. Because ultimately, you felt like that then. I talked to you about it then. So if you feel that way now, then there's nothing that I can really do for you because I'm not gonna kiss your behind. I was kind of with Destiny on this one because I felt like, for real, if we've already acknowledged this situation one time, if you come back to me again because you are still feeling some residuals about an acknowledged situation, I cannot help you with that. At a certain point in time, you've got to let that go. You have got to let it go. You have got to process it. And it's not up to me to help you continue to process it because you cannot get over it. It is really up to you to determine whether or not what you processed worked for you. Period. If it did not work for you, then proceed from there. But if it did work for you, then let's not talk about it again because otherwise you were just making yourself upset all over again. And I cannot help you with that because I'm not willing to go down that path with you, ma'am. I'm not. Okay. So I'm going to sit here. I'm going to drink my cocktail. I'm going to have my chips and pico, and we're going to have a good time. Otherwise, I can go spend my time elsewhere if you're going to still be in your feelings about something that we've discussed about 2 weeks ago. And when the actual person that you have an issue with is not even here, you should take that up with her. And no offense, But, and I know Kimmy is very much, I'm a Scott 2.0, but at the same time, it kind of be like, they were like, well, the new issue is for Leticia is that, well, I don't want you to. I feel like you're about to go back and tell Miss Nail that we ganged up on you. The essence of these shows is usually that people tell people what happened in scenes that they were not in. That's 9 times out of 10 what happens. That's a part of how y'all got here in the first place. So if she does, she does. But Destiny's left to defend her, left to kind of say, well, I'm a grown woman. Why would I? Why do I need to do that? And if I were Destiny, I'm like, now that's the wrong thing to say. What I would say is I could tell who I want to tell what happened, because if it happened, it happened. If you didn't want me to tell that it happened, then don't do it. Here's a new solution for you. If you feel like you're doing something to me, or you feel like that would be my perception, then how about you not do it? Don't give me nothing to talk about, and then we won't have to go down this road. But clearly, you think that I think I'm being ganged up on. Why do you think that? Because at the end of the day, I did kind of feel like they was gaslighting her a little bit, because I'm like, and the second issue, that if I were Destiny, what I would have said was, now you have made up an issue where there was no issue. You have made up a scenario in your mind to be mad at me about already. So now you have already thought in the future about something that you think I'm going to do, and I haven't done it yet. So now you are preparing yourself to be further angry at me. For what? For what? For what? You're upset about an issue that has not happened. But again, your real issue is still with Nell. I mean, but that's really the issue. The issue is with Nell. I mean, and we what we do know is true about these shows is that the person who is in the middle tends to get they usually tend to get, raked over the coals a little bit. So this is par for the course. I mean, it's nothing new. We've seen this happen on many shows before, but I'm just looking at the situation as it was unfolding in front of us, and I'm looking at it like, so now you about to punish me for something that hasn't even happened yet? Like, no, I can't be that for you right now. I can't be the punching bag. I can't be it. Now, granted, is Leticia correct in thinking that that's probably what will happen? Well, yes, absolutely. It probably will happen now that you've said it. But again, the mechanics of the show are that people talk about interactions that they had with other people who weren't present in that moment, but still give me the grace of at least allowing me to do it first before you come at me and commit me to a crime I haven't committed. That's just my thoughts, you know? And so this issue will continuously get worse. Okay. It will continue to get worse. We saw in the trailer, Destiny tells Leticia, well, Leticia tells Destiny that you are a horrible friend. And Destiny tells Leticia, well, I defend you more than your husband does. And things look like they go left from there. Um, there was a different feeling about this episode to me than the earlier part of this season, that I felt like it was a lot more intense, and I liked it. I actually really liked it. Um, I don't always like what a person does on the show, but they're giving us a show. They are giving us a show. So I'm here for it. Um, my only gripe with this show is it's just the way that the seasons are cut and delivered to us. I just prefer to know, or to have solid endpoints for resolution within a year, because if I'm going into year 2 and I feel like the issue is, I mean, these things happened so long ago, I feel like at this point, I don't even know where any of these relationships are right now, and I just don't like that, and I know that they have a huge episode order. they probably order about 30 episodes per season anyway. But my God, today I mean, give us a reunion after episode 15, and then give us another reunion after episode 30. I mean, just at least give us that. It boggles my mind, and maybe I'm the only one that continuously complains about it, but I would really like for that issue to be rectified ASAPidly. Now, given that we're only on episode 17, and I would wager that we have probably about 13 more episodes to go, I do understand I'm probably just going to have to like just wait. And that, that kind of annoys me. But that aside, I did enjoy this episode immensely. Again, I had to rewind several parts because I felt like I just was like, did that person say or do that? Did I really hear that? Did that make sense? So yeah. So it was interesting, y'all. It was interesting. All right. With that being said, tonight, what do we have? We have Married to Medicine tonight at 9 p.m., I think, unless it moved to 8. But I would assume that it's still going to be on at 9 p.m. on Bravo. So we will be recapping Married to Medicine tomorrow, unless something else kind of crazy happens. I know that some of you guys were asking about the um yeah, I'll put the links in the description so you guys can actually go back and research the earlier topic if you so choose to. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in on a Sunday. I really appreciate you guys, continued support. I want to tell you guys I love you, and I will catch you in the next video.